Technical difficulties. Oh, that's the wrong song. Okay, I had Bob Marley all teed up for you who tuned in last week. I told you I was going to play Bob Marley, and
jamming.
somehow my thumb hit Tom Petty. But
It's still great.
if you've never tuned in before, you're wondering what the heck have I just stumbled into. But I'm Mark Sweeney from Austin Dental Spa. That is my wonderful Austin Dental Spa team. And this is Dr. Krista DeCoursin, who has been with me for a little over 2 years now. We've known each other for 6. And since she first got out of dental school, we met when she moved to Austin. And now she works with me. Actually, I kind of work for her now. But be that as it may, we do this every Wednesday about this time for about 7 years now, and we try to bring you the latest, greatest research studies or something just about having a good, healthy lifestyle and living a good, healthy life. Our theme this month is June Jams, and that's why I was going to play We're Jammin', but Bob Marley will have to wait till next week to do We're Jammin'. And we've got a really, really cool study that just came out in March. So several times we have scooped the national media with our studies introduced right here on Wisdom Wednesday, and then a week or two later I'll see them in the national news. So that's how recent and up to date this stuff is. So I think you're really going to like the study today, especially if you're a twin. Because this study involves 9,000 twins. So I'm going to let Dr. Krista take it away. It was my birthday today, so I came in and was presented with this shirt, and then there's, say,
our birthday
hero. So
and he is our birthday
today
hero.
I get to be a hero. Tomorrow I'll be a nobody again.
Not a chance.
Okay, Krista, so tell us about this study.
It's a pretty cool study, and it has to go with our theme of the month. So in Wired to Connect, some people are wired to connect, and this is through the Nature Communication Journal. A new study from the Netherlands suggests that your level of music enjoyment could be related to your genetics. And like Mark said, 9,000 people were tested.
Now, the study was out of the Netherlands, but the twins, were from a huge study in Sweden.
Yes. So on March 25th, in the journal Nature Communications, 54% of the differences in the level of music enjoyment between individuals can be attributed to your genes. Scientists have found that there could be environmental factors like growing up in a family that played music together or past music-related experiences. But this study suggested that it could be genetic. And so the data was pulled from the Swedish Twin Registry in a large scale, like we said, 9,000. Mark, you want to tell them about some more details?
Yeah, about 5,000 of them were non-identical twins, and the other 3,800 were identical twins. So it's a huge study. Anytime you've got 9,000 people studying anything, you're going to get some pretty reliable results. So what they did is they tested these sets of twins, again, 9,000 people, so 4,500 sets of twins, and they tested them for previous musical ability. They tried to rule out genetics and say, well, maybe they're just born with previous musical ability. So they tested out for that, and then they played music for them, and then they tested them afterwards using some study I'd never heard of, the Barcelona Music Appreciation Scale, but they had to take it from being subjective to making it as objective as possible so that they could test all 9,000 of them and find out where they were on the musical scale. So what about from there?
They found that there is a connection, and that genetic twins had a much higher chance of having the similar music background than non-identical twins, and it was a significant study.
Yeah, twice the appreciation for music in the identical twins compared to the non-identical twins. So then they took it another step further, and they said, okay, we're going to test for, is it because they grew up, as Krista mentioned earlier, in a musical background, or they already had taken music lessons and knew how to play musical instruments, or they grew up in an environment that played a lot of music. So they wanted to test out for that. And again, they found that genetics won over 70% of the twins, that whether identical or non-identical, were genetically similar in their appreciation for the music. So it wasn't about, did you grow up around music or take music lessons as a kid? It was purely, they were trying to theorize that it wasn't genetic, that it had to do with environment. And so they tested out the environment, and they found, nope, the genetics won in 70% of cases. The twins were very, very similar in their tastes in music and their ability to appreciate it. So I thought that was fascinating stuff. Cool. Now, there are two caveats to that. One, I mentioned already, they were all Swedes.
Yep,
so they were all 9,000 were from Sweden, and they were all between the ages of, say, 36 and 60 something years old. So fairly small segment. So in order to get some sense out of this study, they would have to test the same sort of testing in other countries and see if maybe there's some cultural differences too. So it's incomplete, except if you live in Sweden.
The other limitation was the assumption that twins have the same level of music exposure. So if twins lived in different backgrounds or lived in different environments, that could affect them.
Yeah, they didn't test for one twin went to live with one parent, another one went to live with another parent, and one didn't play music at all, and the other made him take piano lessons. So those are all things that a scientist would say, well, it's not a complete scientific study, but 9,000 people, that's some interesting information anyway. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And it's a fun thing to learn on Mark's birthday, which is
yeah. And so, as you know, if you've tuned in before, I always give a health tip. And the health tip today, with the weather starting to get up into the 90s, and we're encroaching on 100 degrees in the very near future here in Austin. And so you want to wear protective clothing. But studies are now showing that, I always thought, don't wear dark colors because they'll absorb the sun. But they've got new materials out now that are light and airy. The microfibers, I wear a lot of that stuff. And they're saying that the bright colors and the dark colors, actually nowadays with the clothing manufacturers, they can absorb the UV rays without letting them get to your skin. And yet they're still, I've got several shirts that are dark in color that I wear in the summertime when it's 105 degrees, and that microfiber stuff just breathes so easily. So you want to protect your skin. It's not all about sunscreen. I see the construction workers downtown, and they're wearing long sleeve shirts and things around their necks because they're out in the sun all day long. But they don't seem to get affected by it all that much because they're covered up, but they're wearing loose-fitting clothing that breathes some. And so stay protected out there with the hot weather, and we will see you next week for another version of
Wisdom Wednesday.
Thanks for joining us.
Have a good one, y'all.